Hey everybody, Haitian Homie here, and we have finally made it to the last weekly recap before Overwatch League 2019 begins. I'm very excited, and we have a lot to get through today as the last minute preparations for the league have begun, so let's dig right in. Oh, and by the way, if you stick around for that Thursday video that's dropping this week before the games begin, you'll see a nice little surprise in there, so come back on Thursday. Anyway, let's get started. This is all the news that I think you should be aware of, starting from Monday, February 4th, all the way up until Sunday, February 10th. The first piece of news is that on Monday, February 4th, the new hashtags for every team were announced. Now, some stayed the same. We've got like Wings Out for the Valiant, Shields Up for the Gladiators. Of course, the new teams are coming in, like Rise Together for the Defiant, Force of Nature for the Vancouver Titans, and so on. And then even some of the existing teams switched up their hashtags, such as the Philadelphia Fusion, that are no longer going with that weird like hashtag predominant or whatever. They've actually got a real one now. It's Eye on the Prize. So you can take a look at all of these. Some of them are, I think, pretty good, like Shock the World. I like Shock the World. Let It Rain. Some of them are kind of boring. Hashtag Boston Up. Kind of boring. And then there's the Houston Outlaws, hashtag Texas Hard. That just doesn't make any sense at all. Texas Hard, whatever. The people have already made some good jokes about that one. But anyway, you can take a look at that, and each personalized hashtag has the little icon next to it with the team logo. So that's really cool. And then of course, hashtag OWL 2019 has the Overwatch League icon with it. Tuesday, February 5th was a big day. New casters and talent were announced for the upcoming season, and a lot of people are going to be happy about this. So, on the desk we have Puckett returning, Malik is returning, Sideshow is coming back, Bren is back, Zoe. But then we move on to the casters teams, okay? So, the casters, again, we have Monte Cristo and Doa, same as before, Uber and Mr. X, Semler and Hexagrams, but since we're going to have more teams, more games, they've added in another set of casters, and a lot of people who've been following Overwatch for a long time are going to be happy to see that Wolf and Achilleos are coming back over from Contenders in Korea to cover the Overwatch League. I'm really excited about this because when I watch Contenders, they are very, very energetic. They put like soccer levels of energy into their commentary. They're very different from the existing Overwatch League casters. They put a lot of heart into it, a lot of just great colorful commentary. They're really breaking down what's happening in a really sophisticated way because they've been covering it for so long. On top of that, they can kind of translate Korean on the fly. Granted, as we'll talk about, Overwatch League is trying to fix that a little bit, but if it's necessary, they can kind of parse out what's going on in the post-game interviews, which I think is also pretty cool. I'm glad to see these guys coming back over, and I'm excited to see them as part of the league. They're also adding a handful of what they're calling league insiders. Think about what Zoe did last year. So Zoe's moving over to the desk where like Reinforce used to be, hashtag justice for Reinforce. So we've got different post-game interviewers now. For example, Danny Lim is coming in. He's known for working within like the K-pop scene. The thing is, of course, with a lot of the Korean players last year, if Zoe was going to interview them, they had to have a translator plus the interviewer. Right now, Danny can do both, translate and interview at the same time, so that helps make the process a little more efficient when translating. Emily Tang, she's coming in as another correspondent. Now, Emily speaks Mandarin, so she's going to be doing, what Danny is doing, but with the Chinese players. And of course, since we have 4 Chinese teams, one of them, the Chengdu Hunters, they all speak Mandarin. It's great that they have a Mandarin correspondent here. And again, you have someone who can interview and translate on the fly. You don't have to worry about juggling back and forth between 2 different people. And finally, they're bringing in Mika Burton, who helped with the Contenders North America Season 2, and I believe she was also a part of the most recent World Cup. She brings a lot of energy, so I'm also glad to see her here as well. There's a lot of like different representation in this new Overwatch League cast and crew. It's really good to see a lot of different nationalities and languages being represented here, because this is an international league, and it's really great to see all of these different people coming into the fray. I'm excited to see where this goes, and maybe the best part, Reinforce is back with an asterisk. At the end of the announcement, they said that Reinforce will be appearing throughout the season. No clue as to what exactly that means, but we're not done with him just yet. So hang on tight. Reinforce is back. Some news on the other end of the spectrum. Based Tryhards, formerly Brazil Gaming House, disbanded and announced it on Twitter. Basically, they said, players are going their own separate ways. The best decision was to just let that happen. So they announced that on Twitter this week, but it seems like what's actually happening is that the team is actually merging with LFT Owl. Now, as you may know, Base Tryhards was one of the most popular, most successful teams in Contenders South America as far back as that scene goes. LFT Owl just played them in the most recent Contenders South America finals. So the fact that these two teams are merging is actually really good for representing the South American region at the highest level. You look at what one Reddit commenter said, basically, if there's only one slot for South America in the Atlantic Showdown, a super team is the best thing that this region can do to represent themselves going forward, which really makes sense. So hopefully this works out for them and we see more South American players in the Overwatch League in the future. Moving up to Wednesday, February 9th. Changes are coming to Overwatch Contenders in 2019. So what's going to happen is in 2019, all of the regions will determine their champions over the course of 2 seasons. And each season will end in one of those tournaments that we discussed previously. So season 1 will have trials, the regular season, the playoffs, as usual. But then the last stage of Contenders Season 1 will be the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns. Following that, the second season will go through the same sort of thing, trials, regular season, playoffs, but then instead of the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns, they will come to the Gauntlet, which is where 10 teams from around the world will compete in group stages and then a double elimination bracket where eventually one winner will be determined. This is going to be like, the best Contenders team in the world is going to be the team that wins the Gauntlet. So that's really interesting. Again, they're not giving out a ton of details about the Gauntlet yet. That's going to happen way later in 2019, so it makes sense that they're not showing all their cards just yet. But the announcement of when these seasons will take place is also great. Contender Season 1 will take place during Stages 1 and 2 of the Overwatch League. Season 2 will take place during Stages 3 and 4. But the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns will run during the All-Star break for the Overwatch League. And the Gauntlet will take place after Overwatch League has concluded. This is great because it means that there will be all eyes on Contenders. This might finally mean that, Blizzard and the Overwatch competitive scene is going to finally give Contenders some more recognition. The fact that they're putting the championships for Contenders into time slots where no Overwatch League teams will be playing, that's really good. There's no excuse not to promote this all across the Overwatch League, channels, the Twitch channels, the Twitter channels, things like that. Bring some more, recognition to this scene. So I think this is a good step forward and they might finally be, turning their heads in the right direction. So on Thursday, February 7th, Overwatch League announced the Community Countdown. And as you know, if you've been watching the Community Countdown, this has already been thrown into action. So the Community Countdown was supposed to take the place of the preseason, where different sort of scrimmages that they pitched them as rivalry building scrims alongside some fun custom matches. And these matches were going to be played and broadcast on the channels of some of the Overwatch scene's biggest supporters, such as Jane, ZP, Miro, things like that. So what was supposed to happen, people thought they were going to see Overwatch League level scrims. What really happened was you had tanks playing the support roles, supports playing DPS doing whatever they wanted, and as a result, sometimes you had, real team comps, but you're not seeing players playing their actual roles. Jonak was playing Reinhardt at one point. This is never going to happen in the Overwatch League, so a lot of viewers were upset that why aren't we seeing actual scrims? Why aren't we seeing them try hard to win? Other people were just saying, oh, this is fun. This is cool. This is interesting. But at some point, Nate Nanzer had to come in and say, we're sorry about that. We're just going to turn everything to mystery heroes so you know going forward that it's going to be wonky. We're going to finish out these matches. Sorry they weren't what you expected. Hopefully we can give you something better going forward. Now, I don't want to be super opinionated, but I think people were expecting too much out of this. So first of all, yes, they did say that these were going to be like rivalry building scrims and Overwatch scrimmages, and the word scrim implies that it's going to be taken seriously. However, they're not calling this the preseason, they're calling it the community countdown. You know, they even said there's going to be fun modes thrown in. This was purely a for fun kind of thing, especially because they didn't need to go through all the logistics that they did in the first season when they were learning everything from scratch. So I didn't see going into this that there was going to be a lot of, you know, try hard sweat, but some people did, and they were sad that this turned out the way it did. It's ended up being a little bit of a mess, but the only thing I'm going to say about this is let esports be fun. I understand that this is, at the end of the day, a career for these guys, and they are professional athletes, and I get that. But what distinguishes esports from traditional sports is this air of fantasy, this air of, you know, yeah, we're playing video games here. You're not playing football or baseball or basketball where people are getting bloody and injured. Let's have some fun because we have the ability to do that. If these guys, you know, if Jonak wants to play Reinhardt, let him for a little bit. It's fun. That's what makes this a little bit different. It's wonky, and let's go forward. Hopefully people don't get too into this idea that esports has to be very, very strict, because I think that the wonkiness is what makes it fun. That's why we have people like Defran and XQC. Granted, XQC isn't in the league anymore, but we have these guys that make things a little bit more fun than, you know, some of the traditional sports. But I digress, and we move on. Friday, February 8th, Coca-Cola came in as the official non-alcoholic beverage sponsor of the Overwatch League. This is huge. This is absolutely humongous for the league for a couple of reasons. Number one, Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. It is one of the top grossing brands in the world. This is the biggest sponsor that they probably could have gotten, right? Outside of like if Apple came in and sponsored them, and even then, Coca-Cola is just ubiquitous with the world. Coca-Cola is a big advertiser in live events and entertainment around the world. The fact that they're in on Overwatch League is huge. And it's like, it's my favorite soda. It's my favorite carbonated beverage, so I'm really happy that Coca-Cola is in instead of like Pepsi. Screw Pepsi. I prefer Coke any day, so I'm glad that they're in on this, and they tweeted out a fun little picture of a Coke bottle with hashtag OWL2019 on it, which was cool. If they ever release that, I'd probably pick one up because I do have a collection of Coca-Cola merchandise. I used to collect that as a kid, so this would be a cool little addition. But yeah, Coca-Cola in as a sponsor for Overwatch League. Fun fact, Coca-Cola started in Atlanta. That's where the museum of Coca-Cola is as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the future Atlanta Reign, if they want to connect to Atlanta, like I said in my branding video, they didn't do a very good job of that. If they want to connect to Atlanta, they should really try to get in with these Coca-Cola people at some point in the season. Maybe send their players to do a tour of the facility. That would be like a perfect combination. So hopefully we see that in the future. Also on Friday, the Shanghai Dragons announced that Fearless is recuperating at home in Korea, noting that with his current health condition, it's difficult for him to keep up with the team's training schedule. That's very cryptic. I have no idea what that means. I don't know if he's suffering from a physical illness or a surgery, or if it's a mental health issue. They're being very vague about why he's not with the team, but the long story short here is the Shanghai Dragons now have no main tank, and I've been saying this all throughout my videos when I'm looking at these teams and saying, a lot of these guys only have one main tank, it's really questionable, I don't like that, and this is why. He's not able to play with the team for some reason, and now Shanghai says that the main tank position will be covered by other players in the team during this time. That's not optimal. I mean, yeah, you can throw in Gregory maybe, or somebody, but you don't have another main tank that thinks like a main tank, that plays like a main tank, and now you're out a very, very impactful position, especially in GOAT's comp. I hope that Fearless can come back because I really, really want Shanghai to do well this season to redeem themselves, but they're going to have a really rough start of it without their main tank. I hope he gets better soon, and I hope that the Dragons can find a replacement within their roster. And then Sunday, February 10th, Dogman was released from Atlanta Academy. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, he's looking for team? What's going on? But then, just like Atlanta debated everybody with the DeFran thing, they debated people with Dogman. He's actually moved all the way up to the Atlanta Reign. So he is now a full member of the Atlanta Reign team, and that could be good for them going forward. Again, he's pretty popular. I think he's pretty good. That could be a nice addition to the roster, especially because, as of right now, you know, one of the things that I said was a problem for Atlanta was that they only had 8 players. 2 supports, 3 tanks, only 2 if you take out the one that Gator that's on the 2-way, and then 3 DPS. So you're bringing in a 9th player, now you've got 3 supports to work with. I think that's a fantastic addition. It kind of fills a gap that they needed. And, you know, maybe that was the case where they just wanted him to finish out the Contenders Season 3 with Atlanta Academy. Now they'll pull him up. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same thing with Gator in the next couple of days. If they say, oh, we're pulling Gator up off that 2-way contract straight into Overwatch League as well. We'll see, but if they do, that would also be a pretty good move for them. Anyway, that is it for this week in Contenders and Overwatch League. So excited because now it's Monday, we got Tuesday, we got Wednesday, and then Thursday. We're starting the Overwatch League with that finals matchup, that rematch between Philly and London. Very, very excited. Hopefully you are too. And like I said, stick around on Thursday because a surprise will be coming in Thursday's Critical Look video. So stay tuned and get ready for the Overwatch League. This is the Haitian Homie signing off. Remember to like, subscribe, comment if you would like. I'll try to respond to as much as I can. Thank you for supporting me, and I will see you all in the next video. Later, guys.